Hello and welcome to my channel. This is another card in my Halloween 2019 card series. This simple design can be used to create any occasion card. I created an embellishment from stacked punches for this little owl, and I have a little dollar store spider with little googly eyes. The inside is a two-color stamp, which I did a very simple masking on, and I'd like to show you how to do it. Let's get started. The stamp sets I'm using today are 3 Stampin' Up stamp sets: Halloween Treat, Warmest of Wishes, and Seasonal Sayings. And as always, I have taken out the stamps that I'm going to need and put it on my picture frame so that I have them ready to go. The first thing we want to do is do the owl. So I'm bringing in my Misty tool, and I'm not going to need the foam background, so I'm going to move that aside. And I have this long piece of paper. You could have used shorter pieces if you wanted, of course, but I have a lot of scrap pieces from all the card making I'm doing, and I have a lot of these long pieces of white, so when I can find a way to use them, I always do. So the first thing I want to do is stamp the little owl. And it's okay to have the paper hanging out of the Misty tool. You just have to be careful to make sure that the paper doesn't move, because then you'll get a stamp that you won't be happy with. It'll be blurry or smeared. And I need the potter's clay for this guy. So what I'm going to do is stamp the owl once, and then I'm going to use the punch for this stamp, this little owl, which is, I forgot to show you. Let me grab it real quick. This is called the Owl Builder punch. Okay, pay no attention to all that noise. All right, and while I have my Misty out, I'm going to do the rest of the stamping. I'll set this aside for a moment. And I need my 2-inch square and the trick or treat. Make sure I'm doing it right. Now all this part is very simple. I could just have done it by just going ahead, but I wanted to show you show you how to do it and also talk to you a little bit. If you've been watching my Halloween series, you may have noticed that I'm reusing the same stamps over and over again. I do that because I'm going to be doing a lot of cards for this season, and when I do that mass producing of cards, I find it simple to use a suite of stamps and colors so that I don't have to keep going back and forth into my stash and getting a whole bunch of materials out at once. So I'm using the similar colors in these designs and the similar stamps as well as papers, and you probably have noticed it by now. Now I want to also show you the two-step stamp, two-color stamping, which is a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to be using the same Misty tool. I have pre-stamped on a piece of scrap paper the stamp where I want it to be, so I'm going to use that to help me line it up to get it on the board, the backboard for the Misty. And I stamped it so that I could see where I needed to put my mask, and I have already done it once. So this little piece of paper is going to mask out the little pumpkin so I can put the pumpkin in another color. This is easy to do, two-color stamping this way. You just need to be a little careful where you put your mask to ensure that it's covering the pumpkin and not covering where you want the other letters to show up. So now that I have that in there, I'll pull out that and grab my Versafine and stamp. And I just hit my finger with the ink. Sometimes it happens. I also, Martin changed around my lighting a little bit to try to do something about the glare that I had. I'd like you to tell me if you noticed the difference between this one and the other videos that I've done. Get that off first while I'm thinking of it. Now that I have the black in place, I'm going to move my mask because I don't need it anymore. Clean my stamp. Oh, this is a chamois tool that I have that I'm cleaning my stamps. I got this. It's a really big piece that I got it from the auto shop, and they Lawn Fawn, I think it's Lawn Fawn, sells something called a stamp chamois. It's rather expensive, but if you go to the auto repair store, you can get the same thing, a car chamois, and it comes in a really big piece, doubled over that size, and you just cut off what you need, and it's just a few dollars. It's very more cost effective than getting the Lawn Fawn one. So that's just a little tip that I'll pass on to you. Now I will take the Tangelo and get my little pumpkin. So I'm just going to stamp around where the pumpkin is, because that's all I really need. And I'm going to take a paper towel and carefully try to get the other letters away. But if you're not careful, you can inadvertently take away the pumpkin. So just have to be a little slow and precise here. Make sure that didn't move. And if you're not quite good getting the ink off, you don't have to worry about it because it'll be stamping over the black, so it probably won't be seen. So I got a good stamping there. Okay. Let's clean this off, move this, and move to the next step. Now I need to get my little owls punched out. Come on, you. Okay. So the first punch will be the owl itself. With these punches, it's easier if you flip it over so that you can see what you're actually doing. So I'm just going to feed it in and carefully line up the little guy to make sure that his feet are not cut off and that he is evenly spread in the punch. Just take an extra few seconds to line it up. And you're going to see shrapnel flying everywhere. Pay no attention to that. And now I'm going to get the rest of the owls. I'm going to get as many as I can out of this piece of paper. And I'm feeding it from the right because, let me show you that real quick. If I fed it from the left, every time I punch, I would lose the piece of papers for here. And I'm trying to be mindful of my paper. So if I feed it from this side, then I'm only getting the owl itself, and there's not that much paper waste. But you'll see bits and pieces flying everywhere, so pay no attention to that. At the end of this card, I'll be covered with confetti. You can just get all these little bits up with a little dust vac. I have one here. Okay. And that's all the punching. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them. So this will give it a really nice, a nice high punch embellishment. Separate what I need from what I don't. And there are other videos on my channel showing how to use this punch and this owl and another owl Stampin' Up has several owls, and they all will work with this punch. Okay, set that aside. Now I just need to grab my Tombow and just a little bit of glue on each one and stack them one on top of the other, being careful to line up the little feet so that you don't get a real wonky looking embellishment when you're done. So you don't need much, and don't press it down very hard, because if you do, it may move. So just stack them one over the other, just like that. Okay, everything else on the card is just simple assembly, so I'm going to let the music run and put everything together. And that's the finished card. I ran into a little issue with the ribbon. This was the end of the ribbon roll, so it didn't have a complete Happy Halloween left, except right here on the end. So I couldn't wrap the ribbon around underneath the panel, which is what I usually would do. So I had to tape it directly to the panel and trim the little edge as near as I could. I lost a little bit of the end, but I think it's all right. Also, I added a little bit of sparkle to the owl's eyes to make it shimmer a little bit. And again, there's googly eyes there. You can't really see it on the camera because they're so teeny, but whoever gets this card will be able to see the little googly eyes moving. I'd like to thank you for watching my channel, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And I'd like to thank my brother David for the music that he provides for this channel, and I hope that you're enjoying everything. Take care, everyone, and have a great day.